Hi everyone, and welcome to the Game Breakdown Podcast, the podcast where we break down all different kinds of games. So, my name is Anthony, and this is
Carrie.
Hello. Now, this is our very first podcast. Well, okay, let's be real. It's our first podcast, but this is like the fourth time we tried to record it because
Yeah.
every time we recorded it, it sounded crap. So, if we still sound crap after this one, mate, there's not much more we can do really about it.
We're trying so hard.
We're trying so hard.
There's something, I don't know what it is. I don't know if anyone else has this, but when it's like the first time you do something, even if it's not the first time, but it has to be the first time, you feel like so much pressure.
Yeah. So, hi. So, I'm Anthony, and I love to game, basically. So I had lots of older siblings growing up in the early 90s, and I played things like the Atari, the Super Nintendo, the Sega Mega Drive, all those kind of games. And that was kind of like my first introduction to gaming. But my first proper console that I could call my own, because they would never let me play their consoles with them. So the first console that I got to like play myself was PlayStation 1. And that was where like I knew gaming was going to become like a problem for me. Do you know what I mean? Like I knew this was going to be something I had to do every day. So that was when I started playing like Casper. Do you remember Casper on the PS1?
Oh my god, yes.
That's a fucking throwback.
Yeah.
Like Casper, Tomb Raider, Resident Evil, Spyro, Croc. Where's the Croc remake? Let's talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
And all those kind of games, really. That's what like started my love for gaming.
For gaming, exactly.
Yeah.
And hello everyone, I am Carrie, and I like gaming too. And yeah,
Really?
I've got
Okay.
And basically, I have a similar situation to Anthony, where I didn't really get my hands on my own console to the PS1, and I enjoyed the same games, apart from really like Resident Evil. I never touched on that, but we touched on that further down the line. Yeah, I'm only just experiencing it now. But I used to play Nintendo 64 at my nan's. I used to play Donkey Kong, Zelda. And then on my PlayStation 1, I was playing Metal Gear Solid, Spyro, Crash, Harry Potter with Hagrid and his...
Oh shit, yes. God, I remember that.
Yeah. So like, yeah, I used to play all those. And then obviously kind of you branch out, didn't you? So...
Mm-hmm.
And I'm obsessed as well. So much so that I now work in the industry and I bloody love it. It's brilliant.
And then we ended up making a podcast about it.
Yeah, because why not?
Why not? So yeah, that's kind of like who we are as gamers, I suppose, all the kind of things that we like and the games we started off on. Do you think you've like changed as a gamer? Do you think you've evolved into liking different styles of games, or do you think you've stuck to the same games that you originally used to play back in the day? And do you look for things similar, or what?
I think surely everyone's kind of taste changes, because I used to like I'd say different games now. Like I'm very more slow paced. I'm very like story heavy, not so much like action based. Like don't get me wrong, like I love shooting shit, you know, but I'm definitely more into really hard hitting stories. And I think some like opinions here, but like I just feel like it would be really great if there were more games that had kind of mentioned more different issues and things like that. So I've definitely changed. I see it as more of a serious thing now than I used to. I don't know if that makes sense to you. Yeah. So yeah, I'm more kind of story based and issues and serious than compared to what I used to be.
That sounds really serious.
I know, I keep saying I'm so serious. I'm just such a serious gamer.
Just a really serious gamer. Just only the serious games, no silly games, only serious.
No fun. I don't want fun in my games. No, but yeah.
You want the same pressure from your game that you get from a mortgage. You want like seriousness.
I just love it. Like I love like more realism. I don't know. Is that weird? That's kind of what I'm about now.
I don't think that's weird. I feel like I play games, I suppose, for the fantasy element. Like I don't want to, all right, there's like Sims and stuff, which you basically play a real life, like pay bills and live a life. That's like a separate thing. But I feel like mostly I play a game to like escape into like a different world. If like I'm having a crap day at work or like a busy day or whatever, I will play to like jump into the shoes of like the Prince of Persia or something random. Like I want to, let's talk about that remake soon. I play to like, I don't know, a bit of escapism, I would say. So I do like serious stories and hard hitting stories. I mean, okay, that's why I feel like that I'm more of a PlayStation gamer. So for those listening, Carrie did drop off into the Xbox world. Would you like to explain why you betrayed everybody, or do you just want to skip over that?
No, I'll come clean.
Okay.
Basically, yeah. So I always had PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2. and then we got to the PlayStation 3 era, and I went to Xbox. So I had a 360. And do you know what? Right, I loved it. I loved Fable. I used to play a lot of COD. Obviously, Dragon Age, we both really enjoy. That was on there, and I never really felt like I was missing anything. And then it weren't until the PlayStation 4 where I kind of realized the Xbox One weren't giving me the kind of games I wanted. You know, like I'd never played Last of Us until I got a PlayStation 4, and Last of Us I think is an absolutely fucking amazing game.
Brilliant game.
So I was like, yeah, like that was me sold, you know, like one game like that completely changed the game. And I've never looked back now. So yeah, that was when I defected, and then I went back, and yeah, I don't think I'll go back to Xbox anytime soon. Like that's not like I'm not saying anything bad. Like I'm not throwing any like shade or anything. I'm just saying like I feel like the Game Pass is great, but I just think the content is just a little bit more up there. And I don't want to say there's like there should always be a war, because there's always this war between Xbox and PlayStation, but just PlayStation.
It gets like really heated on Twitter, by the way.
Oh my god, don't it? Especially this gen coming out, it's been absolute war.
The memes, like vile tweets that go to people,
it's
like
to
Sony and stuff.
Oh my god, it's that kid from Halo when Xbox tried to obviously announce their games and everything, and the Halo trailer came out, and that got absolutely destroyed at the Xbox showcase, and I was like, oh my god, I felt right bad for him. Well, that is the main game though. Yeah.
I'm going to read you this tweet that I found the other day, right? Hold on a second. So this was tweeted at Xbox, right? Okay, so this kid says, we need to stand up to Xbox and show them that they can't treat us like this. We all should grab our discs, snap them in half, and send them videos of us snapping their discs in half, because they need to realize they can't treat gamers like this.
Oh my
what the fuck? Who is this person? Are you an idiot? Let's snap our game discs in half and show them that they can't treat us like this. Are you insane?
I don't understand. Because if anything, like I got handed to Xbox, if anything, they are trying to please everyone at every different angle. They've got the Game Pass. They brought out a really cheap version of their next gen console. They've got so many versions, I can't keep up with all the same name.
It's the names. I don't mean to drag, but like it's the names. Xbox One Series X, Xbox
Series S.
Series S.
Xbox
then there's the
X.
Xbox 360. Then there's just the Xbox. Like, what is... I know that people drag PS5 for being like PS1, PS2, PS3, but you know what? At least I know which one I'm fucking buying.
Yeah.
That is my only issue. Well, let's go back to the very beginning of this. So, like, why did you go to Xbox? Like, what was the... Okay, so me and you have always been PlayStation people, and it's not because of any kind of fight. The Xbox wasn't around when we were kids, really, was it? When we had the PS1, there was no Xbox. That was the only real console because Sega was dying and stuff. So when the PS2 came out, we played the PS2, and then they brought out the Xbox. We, being poor families, had already bought a PS2, so we couldn't buy any other consoles. What made you then swap over to the Xbox after being with like the PS1 and PS2? What was the determining factor?
It was purely just price. Xbox was always the more affordable option. I think it still kind of is, to be fair. Like it's always had that affordability's always been up there. So that was it really. The PlayStation 3 was pretty costly, as a lot of people remember. I think that was when they realised that they brought out this console that was quite expensive. I
think that was the most expensive one, wasn't it, to date? I mean, even with the PS5 coming out, I think the PS3 was still more expensive. I can't remember. Wasn't it $499? Have I made that up?
I'm pretty sure it was like $499, yeah. Oh, it was around that, but I remember it being a lot more, and I think the Xbox was about $250. So it was obviously it's not entirely cheap, but like for a console, you know, at Christmas, it was the more affordable option. $600. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it was price, you know. And obviously as a kid, you don't have as much of an understanding of different kinds of games, I don't think. Like you just know you want a console and you're going to play some games on it. And it's as you get older you realize like where the content is. So that was it really. And I was pretty like faithful to Xbox. Never really thought bad of PlayStation. It was just like, oh, I've got an Xbox now. But further down the line, it's like it's not doing it.
That's the thing. So I remember when you were going to college and you had an Xbox and I had a PlayStation still. I jumped onto the PS3 and there was no like particular war again. I'm not like, oh, fuck Xbox. It was just like, well, I've had a PlayStation all these years. Why am I going to drift? just like my toothpaste, I'm not going to suddenly switch brand. Like this one does it for me. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I like had my PS3, and I remember there were so many times I wanted to play with you, and obviously we couldn't because you had an Xbox. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Come back to PlayStation so we can play together. And then there was a lot. Okay, then this is when like the PlayStation exclusives really started to kick in. I feel like with PS3, it was really when it become a massive thing of like this game's moving to PlayStation, this game's staying on PlayStation. And if I'm right, that's when like Uncharted and stuff came out PS3, and like more and more exclusives were coming to PlayStation, and Xbox was looking like drier than Sahara Desert. Am I right in that? Would you say?
I think so. I mean, I wasn't aware of what I was missing out on. Like I was just playing the multi-platform games and didn't really realize it until I got a PlayStation, and I was like, holy shit! Like, look at all this stuff that I've missed out on. But that I think PlayStation 3 was definitely when it kicked off. So yeah, that's.
Well, then what brought you back to the PlayStation? So you said you got a PS, so you dropped your Xbox and got a PS4. Why did you come back?
I was bored, man. I was so bored. Like
straight up bored.
I was bored. There's only so much Black Flag, like Assassin's Creed Black Flag, you can play in your Xbox before you're like, right, shit. Because it was a slow launch anyways. That generation was a slow launch.
Yeah, it was.
But yeah, I sort of outdone Call of Duty Zombies because I used to play a lot of multiplayer. I'd outdone all that, and I was like, I need something to grab me, I need something that's gonna just completely immerse myself. I know I said I like realism, but what I mean by that is I need something that hits me. I don't need just like a game,
You want a proper story, don't you?
Yeah,
want like a film that you can play.
Yeah, essentially, and then I remember I downloaded the PlayStation app on my phone, and I was like, I'm gonna, because I did buy a PS3 really briefly once.
Oh, I remember you did.
Yeah, so I had the account, and I don't really know what went on with that. But anyways, moving forward, I was going through the app on my phone, and I looked at all these games, and I just thought I got like that childish excitement, like I got really excited about this console, and I felt like I was like 10 again when you get excited about your games arrive and you feel a bit sick. I was like, oh my god, like I'm actually getting excited. Yeah, I was like, I'm getting so excited about all these games. So I bought one, and I was like, oh my god! And like my basket was full of games, like on the PlayStation sale, and I just thought there is so much to play. Like I don't feel like I can't find anything again.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was it really. I mean, I love Fable. I thought that was really really good on the Xbox. Fable. The most other games were obviously multi-platform. There was never really an Xbox exclusive that stood out to me. Like I played Halo, but with friends on like the hardest difficulty because it was fun, but it's not a game that I would pick up and play myself,
Yeah.
So yeah, and now I just never look back. So that's it.
See, that to me is the difference. I always found that when I think about the difference between being like a PlayStation gamer and an Xbox gamer, usually for me anyway, and that's coming from someone who's never played an Xbox, not never played, I have played, but never bought an Xbox and never owned one. You might be able to answer this better because you've like had the best of both the best of both worlds. For me, like PlayStation is more of like a story-driven console. Like when you look at the exclusives like Tomb Raider and like Uncharted and that kind of stuff, all of that is like heavy story games. So like Last of Us, Uncharted, Tomb Raider, all that kind of stuff, very deep games. But then when you look at the kind of stuff that Xbox is producing, like Halo, Gears of War, I know COD is cross-platform, but COD games as well. A lot of that is like multiplayer experiences, like fast shooters, mainly FPS kind of stuff. Like that to me is kind of the difference. So if you're into a lot more multiplayer, battle royale, fast-paced FPS action, I'd buy an Xbox. If you're into some of that, but would prefer to have like deep story-driven games like Uncharted or God of War or things like that, then, or Resident Evil, whatever, I'd go for PlayStation. Would you say that's fair, or do you think I'm talking about my ass?
No, I definitely agree with that. I think like when I was growing up and playing on the Nintendo 64 and playing like Zelda and stuff, like they were always very, single player games, and maybe that's just something that always stuck with me. I think the Xbox is like going to be have brilliant looking games on it. I just think if you're looking for, I mean, let's face it, this generation, I don't think Xbox had any games that could counter your like Horizon Zero Dawn, your Last of Us, like those big single player games. So you've got a lot to catch up on from this gen moving on to the next gen. And if you feel like you want those games, like yeah, I'd say go like give PlayStation a chance, you know. But like if you
Mm-hmm.
kind of really set in, you know, all your friends have Xboxes, you all play your COD and Halo and stuff, then obviously stick with Xbox. But I don't know. Yeah, it really depends on the gamer. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. You got to buy what's right for you, in you, at the end of the day. But I think when you grow up playing like certain games, like I did and like you did, with Resident Evil and things like that, then you kind of, it's hard to kind of switch that up because Nintendo, Xbox, and PlayStation all have their vices, you know?
Yeah.
Nintendo's very family friendly. It's colorful. It's like, it's all fun, you know? There's, I mean, apart from the
It's like
Switch,
crack.
yeah, apart from the Switch bringing out a bit more like third party games, that was never their kind of original prerogative, you know? It was
Mm-hmm.
always very like Mario and all that stuff, you know? So, yeah, you've just got to go for what you like, but
Yeah,
yeah.
I think like depending on the console you buy is depending what kind of games you're mainly into.
Mm,
It's like more multiplayer action, go for Xbox, more story driven, go for the PlayStation. And there'll probably be people who think we're completely wrong and
yeah,
chatting shit.
yeah.
But that's just my experience of it, and probably and seems to be yours as well. But like Nintendo, have you ever been much of a Nintendo gamer? Because I had all the Game Boys. So I had the original Game Boy, the Game Boy Color, I had the Game Boy Advanced. I had the Game Boy SP, if you're old enough to know what that is, the special project. I had the Nintendo DS. I had the DS Lite. And I think, yeah, I think that's probably it. That was my last Nintendo console. But I feel like if you're going to buy a Nintendo console, it needs to be a portable console. I feel like they're unbeaten when it comes to portable consoles. We had a Wii in the house, but I didn't really get on with it. It wasn't really for me. Like, we had a Wii in the house.
We had a Wii.
But yeah, my nephew had a Wii U. That was a waste of money. I can't even tell you what that did. But yeah, so I've loved portable Nintendo, but I've never been like a home console Nintendo person. Have you? Did you have like a 64? Did you have? I mean, oh, we had a SNES. Hold on, we had a Super Nintendo. That was lit. But that was years ago. But yeah, what about you?
I'm a bit of a funny one when it comes. I'm honestly a bit of a funny one when it comes to Nintendo. Like, I loved the Game Boy. I had Game Boy Color. I've had a 3DS, but like apart from the Game Boys, I normally got my Nintendo consoles kind of like way into their lifespan.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I played on the Nintendo 64 at my nan's, which I adored, but I never managed to get one for myself. And I want one now, but I'm like, well, they're like
I love that your nan had a
expensive.
Nintendo 64 and you didn't.
Yeah.
Did she just like? Did your nan actually play that?
Sometimes.
That is brilliant.
My nan was awesome.
She was, but a gamer as well. I love that.
I know. So yeah, so that was like that. So yeah, I've been a bit weird with Nintendo. It's kind of like it's always been on my radar, but I guess I never kind of dived into it. And then the Switch came out, and everyone was like, "Holy shit, the Switch!"
Mm-hmm.
And everyone was going crazy over Breath of the Wild. Which, to be honest, yeah, it's a beautiful game. I'm going to get a lot of hate for this. I feel like it's slightly overrated. In the sense,
brave.
I know, very brave. I think for me, it was just it's because I like story. All right. And fair enough, it has got a story, but like it's not as kind of, I don't know how to put this into words, but it's not kind of like a step-by-step process. It's very like everything's up to interpretation and you have so much freedom. And I'm never going to sell my copy of Zelda Breath of the Wild, as much as I say I think it's not like as amazing as everyone says it is. And that's just because I know that I'll enjoy it for like when I kind of just want to run around and look at a very pretty game.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just realizing now everyone's gonna fucking hate me for that. And I'm like, sorry. I preferred Ocarina of Time. I'm sorry, like that's my opinion.
Ocarina. I just realised I had a GameCube as well.
You did have a game. You've had every like Nintendo.
Okay, maybe I've had
We've just
biggest Nintendo fan. I'm not really into Nintendo games.
It's like you've had it more than me.
I just bought all their consoles.
I
never had a Wii though. My mum had a Wii. She used it for like the exercise thing. That little Wii Fit. Do you remember that?
Oh my god, yeah, no, actually we had one of those as well, yeah. Oh shit.
Maybe when Nintendo stands and didn't realise.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, so I always bought things like well into their lifespan, and then the Switch came out and I was like, I'm gonna give Nintendo a go, do you know what I mean? Like I'm gonna get it at the start of its life and see how we go with it. And yeah, I love it. I just feel like they could kind of push themselves a bit further. I feel like but I come from loving PlayStation games, so maybe I'm wanting too much from both consoles. I kind of want a
Yeah.
PlayStation experience with a Nintendo experience in handheld. So I think like
The thing is with Sony and like not Capcom. Well, yeah, with Sony, the kind of games they produce are a complete mixture. So you do have your family friendly games, and like, do you remember when they had like the iToy for PS2, which was like the family friendly like kind of. I know it's a
and you'd
lot
like
bloody
clean
iToy.
windows and shit.
Yes.
Oh my god, yes.
So like when you had like that, PlayStation has a family friendly element. It had like Resident Evil, Silent Hill, like horror games, and it had like fun, cute games like Croc and Pandemonium and like Casper and all that kind of stuff. Crash Bandicoot. It had those kind of like cool cartoony games, but it had a bit of everything. Whereas Nintendo to me has never been an edgy game game brand, if you know what I mean. Like Nintendo games are always the same. They always feature Mario like 9 times out of 10, or some form of the Mario slash Kirby. Kind of like they're all Nintendo always feature similar characters again and again.
They're
It's
very
like
safe.
very safe, very child friendly, very safe, very family friendly. Everything is always has their family friendly characters. So like you've got like Super Mario, you have Mario Party, you have Mario Kart, you have Mario Golf. I'm surprised you haven't got like Mario
Thing is
Gardening.
though,
Like,
I wish you had a Switch because obviously you're undecided by the Switch anyway, you as a
yeah,
whole, which is strange considering you've had every single
every
one.
other Nintendo console.
However, that being said, I wish we could discuss the eShop because that's the one thing that they are not safe with. Like
Oh,
anything
okay.
goes
What's your
on there.
problem with eShop?
Everything. Everything goes
Go
on
off.
that eShop, mate. I'm gonna go off. This is just me slagging everything off right now. But I go on there and I'm desperate. I am so desperate for something to grab me. And I'm scrolling forever. And there's games with like 99p. And it looks like it's made for like, I don't know, within like 2 seconds with a few cubes on
Mhm.
it and some rough ass textures. And I'm just
Oh
like,
wow. Okay.
and they're selling it for like, $8.99 and shit like that. Just random stuff. And I'm like, why is it full of so much trash? That's my main issue with the eShop.
Is it not like old games, like old like NES games, for example, that they've just kind of ported on there, or is it definitely just like random bollocks?
It's do you know what? It's everything. Like they've got that on there, and they've got really good games on there. Like they've ported a lot of games, and it looks great. But there is a lot of rubbish that kind of gets mixed in between. And you kind of like find yourself scrolling for ages, and all the games start to look a bit the same, and you're a bit like, oh my god. And that's like my main issue. I wish they'd kind of tighten the strings a little bit on it. Whereas you don't kind of get that on PlayStation. You don't get those kind of games that are like £1.30 and they're just random as fuck, like
Yeah.
they kind of have a little bit more standard to them. um
And that's also not to say though that PlayStation Store's doing everything correctly, because
no,
they have a lot of flaws too.
I mean they had a
We're not just like
game.
random stands that are like, oh my god, PlayStation is the best. Like it really isn't. Like it has a lot of fuck ups and flaws.
Yeah, they had a game on there that was called something like Mayo Jar, and like you'd sit and tap this jar of like mayonnaise and you'd keep tapping it up to like, I think it was like 5,000 times, maybe even more, and you get a platinum trophy. Like
On PlayStation.
on PlayStation.
What the fuck?
So
Have you
they,
ever played I Am Bread? Like
mate, that's
it's
so
tragic.
hard.
It's so hard.
Iron Bread's fucking rough. Same as Surgeon Simulator and fucking Goat Simulator. Like, what the fuck is
They
Goat
are rough
Simulator?
games. Okay, so you obviously really enjoy your Switch, apart from the eShop, evidently. I don't have a Switch. I haven't got one, even though I've just admitted that I was like a secret Nintendo fan. I didn't really remember that I was a secret Nintendo fan. So I've had basically every console bar the Nintendo 64 and the Wii U in my house. So I don't want to switch. I've got so many friends. You're not the only one. I've literally got about 6 people like at work, everywhere, who are like, get a Switch, get a Switch. You'll love it. It's got great games. It's got this, it's got that. And I will say there's a lot of games that like jump out to me. I'm a Pokemon fan, so like I'd like to play Let's Go Pikachu. I like Zelda. I've played all the other Zeldas like Majora's Mask, Ocarina of Time. I like to give Breath of the Wild a go. I look at Mario. What's it called? Mario Odyssey.
Mm.
That one is like, I really want to play Mario Odyssey. That looks like a game that would draw me in, but I'm just not buying one, and I don't feel like this console's got longevity,
Mm.
which I find about all Nintendo consoles. They have a dry. They like. I feel like the PlayStation and the Xbox could just keep going, just keep making games, but I feel like for Nintendo they have like a shelf life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I get that. I mean, the 3DS was recently they've just ceased production of the 3DS now, so they've shut that down.
Only just now?
Like recently, yeah. Like
Oh
I think it was
wow.
like a few days ago. They were like, right, we're not producing anymore. And I honestly felt like that had a lot more life to give. I don't know
Yeah.
what it was about it. I think it's because I can play like Ocarina of Time on it, and you can play like there's just a long history of games for the 3DS.
Do you think they move on too quickly? Do you think they shut their own consoles down? Because you remember the DS Lite or whatever, DSi, DS Lite. That console was brilliant. Like they were releasing so many other random games for it. Like they released Resident Evil 1 on it. Mario Kart, when you could play with like 8 of your friends sitting with a DS, all playing Mario Kart. That was brilliant. There were so many good things in that console. I feel like it just dried up and just people just stopped playing it. I wonder if they killed it with that DSi 3DS. What's it called?
Yeah,
3DS XL, whatever.
it was kind of
I
like
don't.
a novelty thing with the having like the 3D sort of effect on it, wasn't it? I don't know what
Yeah,
it is about the Switch. Like I said, it's kind of like one of those things where I love it for like a certain amount of time and then I'll back away from it and then
yeah.
I'll become obsessed with it again. Every time they bring out games, like they brought out Bioshock on there, they brought out all the well, not all the Resident Evils, but they've got Revelations on there, the original
On the
Resident
Switch.
Evil, yeah, on the Switch.
Oh, okay.
Um, when they do things like that, I'm like, holy shit, like here we go, you know? And then it'll go
Hmm.
a bit quiet again, but then they'll start bringing out other stuff. So I'm always kind of a bit up and down with them. Um, and I think maybe at some point they weren't maybe expecting it to take off as much as it did because it
Especially
really
during
took off.
lockdown.
They sold out everywhere and people were selling it for like 700 quid online and stuff and people
Hmm.
couldn't get hold of one.
Because that's when I was thinking of getting one, and then everywhere I tried to get one was
Mm,
completely out of stock. Argos, John Lewis, everywhere. It was just
yeah,
gone. Game.
yeah. I think because I've had mine since launch, I've noticed like the highs and the lows of the games. And I
Hmm.
think if you come into the Switch with a fresh kind of set of eyes, you'll focus more on all the good stuff, not so much all the kind of bad stuff in between, like the little games that you don't really understand and things. Like, don't get me wrong, it's a brilliant indie console.
Yeah.
I just think there's indie games and then there's games that I felt like needed a bit more love. Or I mean, they brought out a game that used bloody Zelda music in it. And then suddenly they realized that this game had no ties to like the Zelda games, but they'd used the music. It was a copyright issue,
I
and
was
they
going to say
just let
copyright
that through.
infringement.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. That's what I mean when I say like these games are coming out on it, and you're like, that's what the like you've let another game by God knows who. I don't know who it was by. It cost about 15 quid. It was basic as fuck, and they used the Zelda music. And I thought, and you've just let that go. Like, do you even check the games? Like, I know you can't check all the games, but surely music. Like, I don't know. I
But
just
hold
thought,
on, so
oh my
is the
god.
eShop a bit like the App Store? Do you remember like back in the 90s when they released the PS1, they released that black PlayStation for like bedroom developers, and then you could code your own games, and then they eventually released a disc, and it was called something. Oh, was it Net Eurose or something? I think it was called, and it was a disc full of like 100 and something games that people who had literally made in their bedrooms, like on this black PS4, yeah, black PS1,
Yeah.
and they then got like a small percentage of the funds or whatever that went towards the price of the disc. So it was all these people that had made their own games and they released them as like loads of demos. Is the eShop like that? Could I go and make a random game tomorrow and publish it to the eShop, like the App Store?
I mean, I don't know the exact rules to it. I know that you like anyone can make a game and can put it forward for the Nintendo like eShop, and you pay a fee. It's like making games for Steam and things like that. You know, like
Okay.
anyone can do it. I just think there's just there just feels like there's a lot on there, but they do a lot of ports of mobile games. So you do get games on there that you think this is probably free on the App Store, yet you're charging me,
Hmm.
and that's another thing. Like the Switch games are bloody expensive, you know.
Yes, very expensive.
So yeah.
One thing I think that I find about the Switch is like you've always said you get excited when they port different games to it. So like you've never really played any of the Resident Evils, but like now you're saying they've ported like Resident Evil Revelations and some other big games. I think they ported The Witcher to the Switch. Is that right?
Yes.
It's like other big games. My issue is when it comes to games like that, I don't know if me personally could enjoy those games on a portable tiny screen. I don't feel like that's for me. I feel like if I'm used to playing a game on a big TV or like a 60-inch screen or whatever, and it's made in such high fidelity that it's meant to be enjoyed on such a big screen, I feel like scaling it down is almost doing the game injustice, like a disservice.
Yeah, there was a lot of opinions on the Switch. I was going to call it on the Switcher because that's what it was called.
On
It
the
was called
Switcher.
Switcher. Yeah, on that because it looked quite like you can see where they've had to scale it down, you know. And I
Yeah.
still think it's an absolutely amazing feat because that game is huge and
It's
it's
a
a
huge
bloody
game.
awesome game. Um, so yeah, like you can see where they've had to kind of cut corners, and then when you do dock it and put it on the bigger screen on the Switch, then it's really apparent, you know. So
Oh, so it still looks, because it just literally projects what's on the console, so it's just a shit version blown up.
yeah, because they still had to scale it down, you know, because it still has to run on that,
Tense.
doesn't it? So yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like okay, but again, like it's nice to have the option. I think it's just one of those things. I think eventually you'll probably end up getting a Switch, and I think you would actually really enjoy it. It's just expensive, like.
Yeah, see, I just don't think a Switch is for me for now. I don't think it's going to be something I'm going to get. I just feel like it's not. I don't really want to see games scaled down to a portable screen. I'm just not a portable gamer. Like, I've enjoyed things like the PSP and the DS and that kind of stuff, like I said, but having big games scaled down is something that would really bother me.
Yeah, that's fair. I think everyone has their different things. Like I love the thought of having like bigger games more portable, but I also see where you're coming from when it gets like a certain point in a game and you're like, I really want to see this like properly, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it's just I think it was like the first console that a lot of people felt like it gave them the best of both worlds and they
Mm-hmm.
could have it as a home console, they could also have it as a portable console. Like there was just so much freedom with it and that was such a big selling point. Um so yeah, I feel like you'll still eventually get one, but there's obviously word that eventually they're going to bring out a Switch 2 or like a Switch Pro version, and it might be able to play the bigger games at a better capacity. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe wait a little while and see what they've got up their sleeves because I think they've learned a lot from what they've done. Like they learned a
Yeah.
lot of lessons from the Wii U, and they perfected it to create the Switch, which was essentially the Wii U in a very in a more polished and like better way. So yeah.
I feel like really I'll look into it when I win the lottery, because
Mm-hmm.
I just had to throw a bunch of money on pre-ordering the PS5.
Mm.
Can we very quickly just talk about that? Because that was a shit show.
It was, wasn't it?
That was a proper shit show.
I
Did you see the tweet? The tweet this morning from Sony or from PlayStation?
the apologies.
The apology tweet, but the way it was written was just really. I'm going to get it up. You talk. I'm going to get it up.
Yeah. So basically, nowhere stuck to the rules of like the pre-orders, or at least they couldn't kind of capture the pre-orders correctly. So we had Argos selling them at like 3 in the morning because the code got leaked, so people pre-ordered it. All
Mm-hmm.
game online sold out. All like very everywhere, all like that sold out. And basically, I'd watched the event, and I was in two minds myself. I was like, I'm not going to pre-order it yet. Like, I'm just going to wait a little while. And then everyone was like, it's sold out. It's sold out. Like, I woke up in the morning and I thought, oh my God, okay, like, is this going to be a Switch situation where I'm not going to get this console for the
Mm-hmm.
year? And I was like, I can't not get the PS5, you know, like, because
Yeah.
I saved for it. I think a lot of people had saved for it. So I didn't have an excuse because I was like, well, I've put the money away. And yeah, it was a shit show.
That was a shit show. I remember, so we watched the showcase, the final showcase on Wednesday at like 9ish, wasn't it? We
Mm.
watched that and they've said, I don't know whether I made this up. I saw somewhere and now I can't find it. It was on Instagram, it was on Twitter. They said 8 a.m. tomorrow, pre-orders go live, right? That was what was said. But actually at midnight, a lot of shops went live. So Very went live with it. Game went live with it. Who else? Smith's Toys or whatever. That's the UK
Yeah.
resource. It's Smith's Toys. They went live with it when they weren't supposed to. So I went onto Game at like 12:30 or whatever. I got an email. That was it. I got an email and it said pre-orders open now, and I thought, I thought it was 8 a.m. So I clicked on it from the Game website,
Mm.
and it was there, and I could purchase it. And I took so long. Basically, Game completely crashed, and I couldn't get anything up, and I couldn't sign in to get Game points when I was buying the console. So in the end, I was like, I'm just going to check out as a guest. So I checked out as a guest, and when I got to the final point, it said the item you want is out of stock, and that was it. I was like, fuck, it's out of stock. What am I going to do? Went on to Smith's Toys, out of stock. I was like, what the hell? I'm screwed. I thought it was 8 a.m. Blah blah blah. Went on to Very, just out of pure like coincidence. They were in stock, and I pre-ordered one, and I felt so like panicked. I was like, what the fuck? I might not get this console. And then I come to find out, because I text you, and I come to find out in the morning that Game then went back and had a restock. So they hadn't sold them all, or they hadn't really gone live properly or something. And then it was a mess, and people were pre-ordering in the morning at 8 o'clock. Some people were pre-ordering at 6 a.m. It was all over the place.
Yeah, because Sony said that. I mean, I remember this whole thing saying that it was going to be one per household or something,
Yes.
that there were going to be special invites and everyone was going to be made very aware of when these things were released.
Yeah.
I never got an invitation.
Nope.
I never got a specific kind of time. Like I even tweeted about it. I said I've never felt so pressured in pre-ordering in my entire life. Like
Yeah.
because I remember I went on Very because I was going to pre-order it there while I was waiting for like to see if the other one went through where I originally got it from. And it was in stock, and I went downstairs, had a cup of tea, and I was like, right, what am I going to do? Am I going to do it? Am I going to get it? What am I going to do? Refreshed it. The digital one went out of stock. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, shit. I thought, no, like, I want the physical one anyway. So I did something else, refreshed it again. All the extras had sold out. And
Yeah.
then I refreshed it within 5 minutes, the console sold out. And every time I refreshed it, something was selling out. And I feel sorry for anyone who feels frustrated by the fact that they couldn't get the console, because honestly, like, it was a free for all. And now, like, people are buying them up and selling them for ridiculous prices online
Yeah.
as well, which is another issue.
I just don't understand though how it even got to that point, because it's not as if they've got no previous sales figures to look at. There's a PS1, a PS2, a PS3, and a PS4. Like, surely you can look at the amount of console sales you had for those consoles and produce enough of a pre-order. Like, I don't understand why there was such a shit show. And their tweet is really ridiculous. So it says, let's be honest, this is from PlayStation's official thing. Let's be honest, PS5 pre-orders could have been a lot smoother. We truly apologize for that. Over the next few days, we will release more PS5 consoles for full pre-order. Retailers will share more details, and more PS5s will be available through the end of the year. Right. Why? What the fuck?
Yeah, what the fuck?
What the
I
fuck?
mean, I've got to be honest though. the events that Sony held have been, in my opinion, absolutely fantastic. So
Oh, brilliant.
I knew it was going to be probably the best release, like, but not the best launch in the respect that, like, it's going to be a really good launch, but it's going to be the most strongest year, you know?
Yeah.
So I get why everyone was going for it, but it almost felt as though, like, they'd released a limited amount on purpose, you know?
But I feel like they did. I feel like that was a marketing tactic, and now they're fake apologizing because, like we said, there is 5. This is the 5th console. There are 4 others to look at sales figures, so you know roughly how many to produce to appease the majority. And if you didn't get a pre-order, don't worry, we're restocking like the 1st of January or something. Like, why was it allowed to get that far where like everyone was like panicking? Retailers were releasing them at different times. Like, surely that, I don't know. I just feel like that was why? Why did any of that happen?
It's true. And obviously people were buying more than one console to sell them online. So this whole thing of making sure that people couldn't order a certain amount didn't work.
Yes, because Very let me put 2 in my. I put 2 in my bag by accident and didn't say anything, but Game wouldn't let me. Game did stop me when I tried to put 2 in. It said 1 per household.
Well, at least someone was sticking to the rules. But
Literally,
like
but
everywhere else was a bit like, you know,
take it as you please.
yeah, it was rough.
It was rough. But this tweet did make me laugh. I kind of respect it. Like, I respect the fact that they realized they fucked up and they apologized for it. But I also feel like it was a bit of a marketing tactic. That they're now like, oops, sorry.
Yeah, it could be, but it felt very human. It could have gone smoother, you know. But at the same time, it was kind of a bit like, well, you've got a lot of very like upset people now.
It's over the next few days we release more PS5 consoles. So where have you suddenly managed to get like production? Let's just make the numbers real small. So say they produced 1,000 consoles and they were like, okay, we're going to release 1,000 pre-orders, and they've got 1,000 consoles ready to go and be shipped. You meet those 1,000 orders and you're like, oh my God, let's make more. You can't have 1,000 more ready by next week. Like, production takes an awful long time. So if them to say we're releasing more pre-orders over the next few days, that either means that A, they made this whole thing up and they're lying, they've actually got millions of consoles and it was just a marketing tactic, or B, they've got a gun to the head of all their production factories. Like, you need to get your ass in gear and make like 300,000 more.
And where?
Like,
where?
yeah, where?
You could say, please find them at your usual retailers, so people know that they're going to be available here. Like, are you just releasing them on your own website? Can we go to Amazon? Can we do this? And the funny thing was, as well, is Xbox tweeted and they said, "Don't worry, we will make you especially aware when we're releasing them." And it was kind of like a little
so shady,
like a little spike. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
But I just thought, fair enough. Like they've kind of said, like that's kind of getting their foot in there a little bit, which I thought.
Definitely. If I was Bill Gates, I'd be sending that tweet myself.
Yeah.
Like,
so I kind of like that. I was like,
it almost reminds me. Do you remember when Xbox were doing that thing with DRM on the discs, and it said you weren't allowed to share your discs with people? And then Sony released that video that was like 10 seconds long and said how to borrow your friend a game, how to share a game with two consoles. And the guy going, "Do you want to borrow my game?" "Yeah, sure." And that was like the end of the thing. Like, I love when they take the piss out of each other. I do find it funny.
It is funny. It is. But then Xbox, like a little while later, started tweeting and just being like, "We think you should game on whatever you want." So it's kind of like, I don't know. It's like they're kind of having a bit of a fight, but they're tired. Yeah,
they're tired. They're getting so much hate. Did you see the whole things after the first showcase? It was like Xbox pronounced dead, and people were like tweeting pictures of like loads of PS5s carrying an Xbox like a coffin. Yeah. And that's like the tamest meme. There were so many other like really vile ones. You're like, calm down, it's a gaming system. Almost like that guy at the beginning who was like, snap your disc and fucking show them who they are. Like,
yeah, because I found it kind of funny in the beginning. Like, we all love a good meme, like it's funny, and Twitter's like the hotspot for all this shit.
Yeah,
but it got to a point. It got to a point where I couldn't even like bring myself to look at Twitter, because I just knew it was going to be everyone arguing, everyone was going to be kicking off about it, and I just thought, can we all just take a step back and like remember that it is just a gaming console? Like, they both offer plenty for
they're offering the same
thing.
Audience. Like, calm down.
Like, yeah, for the most part, it's the exact same thing. I mean, PlayStation have now brought out what is essentially the Game Pass on Xbox. Like, they're very similar now. Like, it's okay. It's okay. Just play your games. It's cool.
Literally. So,
but we do love a bit of drama.
We love a bit of drama. We love when they cuss each other out. I live for that. Yeah. Right. Okay. So that kind of seems like a bit of a natural end. So I guess we should really just finish off by saying what this podcast is, because that may have been like a bit of an erratic episode for people. But like, should we tell them what we actually want from this podcast? Yeah.
What we're going to talk about. What you guys can expect from us. Let's go.
So basically, we really just want to talk about different games and different topics in gaming that we really enjoy. So for example, there's lots of different games that we've been playing recently. So Carrie's never played any of the Resident Evils, and she recently started playing through them on her Twitch channel. So we've got a few episodes talking, breaking down those games and talking about what we like about them, what we hate about them, what's good, what's bad, and just kind of giving you our opinions again that you didn't ask for on those games. Gaming topics, just like today's one, talking about the PS5 launch. There's a few other topics that we've covered in some more episodes that are coming, and just kind of giving you our opinion on different games and different topics in gaming. Really, there's not much more to say about that.
No, just having a nice chat. So when you're just going about your day and you fancy listening to something to do with games, we are here to hopefully cover all the bases when it comes to that. Yeah. So I suppose we hope you've enjoyed listening to this episode, and hopefully if you enjoyed, you'll subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one. Yeah, and thanks for listening. Yeah, thanks. Bye.